Okay, hello, good afternoon. Where did Doc go? Okay. Uh, um, just welcome to a little Easter Monday hangout here. I've got this granny here and Critical Cripple. This is kind of open. We did have Doc. I don't know where Doc's gone to.
Probably internet issues.
Possibly, yeah. So Doc, I'm sure Doc will be back in a minute. So yeah, this is more of a, and there is Doc.
Hello.
Well, just saying with cold life. I was like, where's Doc? Yeah. So how is everybody today? Everyone enjoy the Easter weekend and so on? Or
I was chased by a zombie.
Oh no!
Zombie Jesus.
I didn't stop to ask him his name.
Okay.
I just ran.
We had a little joke Easter hunt for Robin. My husband took a bag of candy and put it under Robin's phone, and I took one of Robin's stuffed animals and put it on top of the clock that's the most prominent thing you can see in our living room. And when Robin walked in the morning, we said, "Time for your Easter hunt." It was over in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, I hadn't really been doing much, but mainly, obviously did a couple of streams yesterday, and this is, as I said, so this is like the second time I've been on YouTube today because I just felt I needed to vent about that nonsense earlier with the British Labour Party. So,
I have a question. Given you're going down that route, is there any viable leader at the moment?
No, honestly, no.
For just the party or for the country?
Or for the planet.
Well, we meant for the party. But yeah. I don't see anyone in Labour that is elected. I think right now Tony Blair could come back, and he'd probably get more votes than Starmer.
Yeah, that's a sad thing. I mean, it says something about. I mean, it said, okay, so you've got sort of three main parties here. It says something about me that I've actually like. It says something about the Liberal Democrats. I've just had to Google who their leader is, and I follow British politics.
I have no clue who their leader is. I can't remember.
Apparently, it's a guy called Sir Ed Davey. I don't fucking know the guy. So yeah, the Liberal Democrats are hardly an option either. By the way, yeah. Hi, Chris. Yeah, so that would be good. So hopefully we get to, sooner we're out of all this, the better, and we can all meet up and have a drink again. But
I think Greens need to do better so they can actually become a viable party. As they stand, they're a joke.
Yeah.
But they could be a potential left-wing viable left-wing party.
They
have transformed in other countries.
I mean, the one MP they've got is someone I've got a lot of time for, but Caroline Lucas. I mean, I've met her several times. I don't know if she's still a leader or not. I don't know if she is.
I can't remember whether or not didn't we switch to an Australian one part-time?
There's Natalie Bennett, and I think Caroline Lucas came back again, and it's the Greens are sort of never, they're just not an alternative though, are they?
The problem I've got with the Greens is that they have their, I mean, it's not like any other party, but they have their own ideology.
Yeah, but
that overrides sane decisions.
I don't even think they're that very left. They as a left alternative, they're not that good on certain things though. I mean, they were one of the first to. I mean, like when one local council they held in Brighton, they were like the first to cut all the like people's wages and stuff. So, they're a bit weird, the Greens.
Yeah, like I said, I can't. Until they endorse nuclear, I can't take them seriously.
Yeah. I guess. Do you guys know what the issue is with the British, the leader of the Labour Party that we got? It's just to the Americans here that just want to fill you in. Okay.
I was hoping Granny was as lost as me.
Yeah. Okay. So I just think actually, the leader of the Labour Party is this guy called Sir Keir Starmer. Now, a couple of days ago, he went to this church or whatever to sort of. He said supposedly because they were helping, there's a vaccination centre or something that they were, and he was sort of giving them a big pat on the back and whatever. And he put a video out about it on his Twitter. The thing is, this church is the pastor of this church is a well-known homophobe and like anti-abortion sort of campaigner. You know, this is a guy who's actively signed statements against gay marriage, actively signed out statements against, against legislation that would, so that LGBT people couldn't be discriminated against. And the leader of the Labour Party, which is supposed to be the sort of party on the left in Britain, this guy's going and palling. The leader of the Labour Party is going palling up to this pastor. It's ridiculous. So that's why I had a bit of a problem with them. I like Spooky. Spooky's got a suggestion here. Hi, Spooky. Stall for PM.
Whose?
Ours, probably.
Well, we don't have a prime minister, so.
I meant whose stool?
Very stable milking stool.
Yeah. Still would do better, I think, than what we've got.
I like Stool's campaign slogan here: "Free cake for all."
Yeah, yeah.
Wait. I think that's just his northern way of saying "let them eat cake."
I was going to say my English history isn't so good, but that does ring familiar.
That's French.
I was wondering.
Oh, that's French. Okay.
I was wondering if he was inviting the cake as a lie.
But that's a lie. It turned up at the end.
Well, what's your equivalent of vice president?
We don't really have one.
Like a second in.
There is like a deputy prime minister, I suppose, but
deputy prime minister. So maybe Stool's deputy prime minister would be cake.
There we go.
Free
beer curtains for all. I can't remember what beer curtains are.
Apparently, they're these things because I tend to. I put them there, and I always tend to have a supply behind there.
Ah, okay. I thought maybe they were curtains that had beer slogans on them or beer logos.
Yeah.
I naturally assumed they were curtains made of beer, somehow suspended in space.
Mm.
But I could be wrong.
Which draws us back to Easter. And yesterday I spent the day arguing with Christians about where's the body if Jesus rose. Yeah, they keep saying that the tomb is empty, that he rose bodily, and that his body came back, and then his body arose up into heaven. And I said, is it floating around in space somewhere? And if it's not, if heaven is in another dimension, is this a dimension of space? If not, how can a physical body exist there? If it is another dimension of space, then it has to be a separate universe.
I don't think they thought this thing through. Is
no.
I think is the general gist of this.
The most coherent. Go ahead.
No, go on. It's okay because I've got another question and I don't have a good answer to you.
The most coherent answer I got was that God raised his physical body, but transformed it into a body that could go through doors. So basically, it was transformed into a metaphysical body.
Fascinating.
Okay. That's the best answer you got.
That
Yeah.
was the best answer I got.
How, as a Christian, did you resolve the fact
There you go.
that it was never 3 days later?
We did it because we went, Friday is day 1, Saturday is day 2, and he arose on Sunday, which was on the 3rd day, not 3 days later, but on the 3rd day.
Mm.
Well, now, as a former Baptist, and I was never well versed in a lot of the Bible, even back in the day. But like, at least my church and my uncle, who is a Baptist missionary that lives in Africa, like, when you go to heaven, your physical body goes. Your mind and spirit are ostensibly one. So Jesus's physical body going to heaven is not particularly out of paradigm for my former faith. So that doesn't readily answer your questions. Of course, it's like, or whether it's Jesus's body or anybody else's. Yeah, where exactly does it go?
Yeah.
Why did they not?
What exactly is heaven?
Why did they not recognize him? It had to be a different body because they didn't recognize him.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that no one screams to me that that's okay. When they talk about all those solutions to the problems of
I think we've got oh, Jenny.
We've got a naked Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Hello, Jenny.
Hi. How are all you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
I want to know if you, when you go to heaven, if you get like a single family home, or are you in a condo?
Neither. You're on your knees the entire time. But he changes your brain so you're happy about it.
That was something that I gave a lot of thought to because, so many Christians talk about, I'm going to have a mansion when I'm in heaven. And they all talk about each having their own personal mansion. And I always said, I wouldn't want that. I would much rather have, like Jenny said, a condo where, there's lots of people around that I can go see at any time. And I'm not going to have to walk a mile to the next mansion to find another person.
Why would you need a property? Why would you have a property at all?
Well, that's kind of the lunacy of religion now, isn't it? I agree with Granny. I definitely have Christian friends who think that they're going to have a mansion and that there really are pearly gates and gold everywhere. And it's like, how can everybody be there? This place has to be infinitely big. Mm-hmm. And if it was infinitely big, how come we can't see it?
Because it's in another dimension.
Yeah, okay.
I think South Park probably had it right. You just remember the movie there, and it's heaven, population 1,200 and something, and then you go to hell, population, and it's just like going up and up and up all the time,
I got into an argument with, do you talk to Common Sense Jen on Twitter?
So I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
She was fascinating. She was she has been somebody I have followed since Trump started. Mm. And she is somebody that at the start was a relatively sane Republican Christian, with the Christianity being front and focus. And I have watched her systematically descend into conspiracy.
Actually, Chris, I'm going to correct my friend Chris here. Man, bear pig is God. No, it's math pig is God. That's what we should say.
What kinds of conspiracies? All of them?
All of them. All the QAnon. Everything.
Oh, good. QAnon's just such a rabbit hole.
Right.
The problem with it is that it's all the things that were supposed to happen, right, according to QAnon, have not happened. Okay, and it's just like they got. It's like these. It's almost like these end of the world preachers. Okay, that are like every time they predict the end of the world and it doesn't happen, they then go and make another prediction, and there's still people dumb enough to believe it. It's QAnon is a bit like that.
Well, it's just like Christianity and every other conspiracy theory that just move the goalposts. You know, people are just too stupid to figure it out, and I don't understand how people can be that stupid.
Because it's generational.
Well, I think I've always thought the fact that the QAnon sort of started on 4chan should have given people a bit of a clue. You know,
I don't think any generation is that stupid. Not even millennials.
No, the problem is that one generation. I was talking to Caroline about this, right? And the fact that America has now dropped below
50%.
50% church attendance. Now, that's not Christianity. That's not a decline in Christianity. Okay, unfortunately, right? It's a decline in church people that are members of churches. Okay, but here's the thing. This is why this is a good thing and why we should be encouraging it. Parents will not indoctrinate their kids as well as churches. So they're still going to be believing Christians and they will potentially try and teach their kids. But they will not put the level of indoctrination in that the churches do. And the next generation will leave.
I have about I'd say 20, 25 young people in my life through my friends, you know, their kids and stuff. And these are all kids that have not been indoctrinated. And so far they're kind of in the range of ages from 40 to just under 20 some. Maybe 15, 16, 17. Hard to remember. And only one of those kids has taken up religion on their own. And she went into Catholicism, kind of an evangelical Catholicism, something I was unaware of. But because the Catholics who are a member of the traditional Roman Catholic Church and diocese and stuff like that, but they have their own prayer meetings and all kinds of Yay Jesus rallies and stuff. It's kind of weird. And she got burned really badly. You know, the human nature of people came out, and she just got burned emotionally so badly by these people. And
that's too bad.
I could see it coming. And it's like, Emily, watch out. This is going to happen. And it did. And I feel just so terrible that she got caught.
Is it because her identity?
She won't leave the group. It's no, I have to believe. No, you don't. Yeah,
but you, as you well, you know that you are taught that it's like the stupid questions they say that we can't answer, that we don't need an answer to. They're meaningless questions mostly. But they teach Christians their entire lives that they need to answer these questions, that the answer to these questions are important. And you can't stop believing that.
This is coming from a guy who asks stupid questions on the internet. just point that out.
I boggle, but I understand that if you are taught over and over again that something is true, it's virtually impossible to change it. I mean, I was annoyed yesterday. I'm annoyed, and I shouldn't be, that Frank Turek tweeted out that Jesus' resurrection is a historical fact. And that really makes me angry. That makes me far angry. I know that he believes that. I know that it's a belief thing. But he is taking the language of his religion, and historical fact means something else to people. And people hearing things like that over and over again means they don't question it, because an authority figure has told them a historical fact. Not that he believes it, but it is a historical fact, even though no one that studies history thinks that.
No.
But
I mean,
actually,
no one, even like people who believe that, that historians were of the opinion that there was an actual Jesus. None of them seriously believe the resurrection.
Oh, no, there's lots to do. I've got no problem with them believing the resurrection, but they don't believe it's a historical fact. They don't believe we have evidence to say that it is a historical fact. I'm going to be right back.
That's what I meant to say about that. Yeah, they don't. They're not saying, most serious historians, even if they, think that there is a historical Jesus. And I've said a bunch of times, I'm on the fence on that one. I don't. I'm not entirely swayed by mythicism, but I'm not. I'm not. I don't feel I've got a dog in the fight personally, but I don't know any of the historians that would actually say that the resurrection is a provable historical fact.
he claims his support in Paul Meyer, and I was about to do a dive into Paul Meyer's credentials because I've read some Paul Meyer. Paul Meyer has written some fiction that I've read, and I don't know if Paul Meyer actually has any credentials as a historian. It's possible. I don't know. I never did end up looking it up.
Mm.
I got distracted by coming onto somebody's stream. I wonder where that came from. But anyway. But one thing I would disagree with Dave on is I think if that is something that you are hanging your hat on, that it's much easier to break someone's faith. Because one of the biggest things that I hung my hat on was Josh McDowell's evidence that demands a verdict. And particularly his claim that no discovery in archaeology has ever disproven the Bible. And once I heard Aaron Ra talking about how there is actual archaeological evidence of civilizations that existed through the time that the flood is supposed to happen, and they never went extinct, I went, how did I miss that? I've always known that. I've studied the history. I knew, and yet when Josh McDowell made that statement, I never put those two together. Well, and so once I realized that Josh McDowell was full of shit, there's all kinds of archaeology that disproves the Bible. I mean, that was the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron did probably one of the best series I saw ever, like debunking the flood myth. I mean, I will say to people, as great as Aaron is, sometimes on history he's pretty bad, and he does at times he gets things really badly wrong and doesn't seem to take correction too well, and I have noticed that about him. But generally he's pretty spot on though with what you were saying. Yeah, I mean this series ripping apart the flood myth is absolutely brilliant.
The one thing that I always wondered about in my puny little child brain was even in elementary school and junior high school, when you get taught history, there was always years associated with history. Like the Gettysburg Address was from 1864, and the Constitution 1776, and they didn't bother with the subtlety of 1889. But anyways, there's always dates associated with everything, and I always wondered why the Bible didn't. There's no dates associated with anything at all in the Bible. Jesus lived in these years. He was born in this date. The flood was in 65 BC or whatever they want to say it was. But there's nothing. There's nothing.
The thing I always come back to, if I ever start to believe anything, okay, every now and again I'll start to follow a rabbit trail down, and my head will go right. The thing that always breaks me, that I cannot comprehend that Christians can hand wave away, right, and this is without a doubt the census.
Yeah.
There is no census that fits with the time That we have a story that says a census happened when Herod was here, when this was here, and there is no overlap. There is just those two things are too separate. They cannot be true. One of them can be wrong, but that then is a direct contradiction to the Gospels.
The time frame they've got on as well of Herod is pretty weird, because the big one that always gets me is the Bible's account of Herod, the slaughter of the innocents. Okay, that is the big one that always gets me, because there is an awful lot of other sources about Herod. And I will say, not a lot of them. There's a lot of them that do not have some very positive things to say about him. But I think if he had ever done anything like what the Bible is claiming he did, the slaughter of the innocents, there would be a massive historical record of something like that happening. And the Bible is the only source for it. There is no other source that corroborates that story. And as I said, and it's not like a lot of other, especially Jewish historians, have of the period had much good to say about Herod.
Yeah, the slaughter of the innocents and Jesus. Yeah, he was proud of the horrific things he'd done.
This is in the Bible. I missed this part.
The Herod slaughtering all the children, baby boys 2 years and younger in Bethlehem. Yeah, he was trying to kill Jesus.
No, none of my Sunday school ever taught that.
Oh, and Joseph was warned by an angel in a dream to take Mary and Jesus and flee to Egypt. So they got away from the slaughter, but all the rest of the babies that were not warned about the slaughter to come were all killed.
It's why we have the story of the wise men, because they accidentally told him.
And there was an age limit on this.
Oh, there were angels all over the place.
Oh, okay. Was it all children or just male because they're after Jesus?
Just male.
Yeah,
the easy thing.
They needed the prostitutes,
the easier thing to do would have just been to smite fucking Herod on the spot for even thinking about it. But yeah, this is one of those things that had such a crime been committed, and that there would have been a record of something like that outside of the Bible, because. Herod is a very, very well documented figure historically, and so
there's no one more well documented than Jesus in history,
allegedly, yeah. Well, this is my other. That's the other one I like. The whole there's more evidence for Jesus than there. I promise you, I was told this at school that there's more evidence for Jesus than there is for Julius Caesar, and that's just not true.
Show me the coinage. That's
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know that's not true.
Name
on
buildings all over Rome.
I'm on a conspiracy. Cats is in the chat.
All I remember from my teaching, the most prevalent thing I remember from my teaching in Sunday school was that there may come a day in America where I have to stand up and tell them that I'm Christian and then be shot, and that I have to do that for my religion. If I really love Jesus, I'll let them kill me.
Why would you say you were Christian then?
I don't know, but hey, they could teach me what I want. I was only 7-8 years old.
Oh, fair enough.
Another historical fact that seemed to have eluded the historians was the tearing of the temple veil from top to bottom. This would have been huge to the Jewish people, and yet no Jewish historian ever records that it ever happened.
Well, I don't believe anything out of the Jewish religion either.
No, but the point is, you're looking for competing sources to try and find an element of what might be true and what might not be true. And this is the problem we've got. We don't have. I mean, we really don't. We only have basically amateurs. because we don't have people that study the Bible from a historical perspective, because all the money is in studying it from a Christian perspective. I'm half lying. There are people, but it's very understudied from a historical perspective. And there is a historical value to it. The things in there meant something. They meant something to the people from an anthropological point of view. It's a huge deal, but it's dwarfed by the fact that you can't have honest study without people immediately saying everything in it had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I imagine if we read Greek myths, Norse myths as though they were history, and I just cry.
No. There are multiple sources for Norse mythology. Have you not seen the Marvel universe?
Do
they coincide? Do they cross over with the other sources?
Not really, actually, because in any description of Thor in Norse mythology is that Thor's got a red hair. He's not blonde.
Modern dye.
They did have another Thor for a while. I don't know if you're aware of that in Marvel Comics.
They had a lady Thor, didn't they? It's what,
yeah, they had that later on, but even back in the day, there was a weird storyline where another version of the Norse gods came into play, and something happened to Thor. He was kind of out of the picture for a while, so there was a sort of replacement Thor. This guy named Red Norval, I think his name was, and he was a red-haired, bearded dude, and he had a different hammer that was also supposed to be Mjolnir, and it was bizarre.
It's actually
I think it's one of those story arcs that most fans wish didn't really happen.
He's got a bit. Thor and Odin got to be one of the few characters that appeared both in like Marvel and DC comics. Because okay. I'll answer a question I got from the chat. Gramsy, my YouTube handle.
Can I make a point first? We don't have a subject. We are literally just talking shit going round.
My handle. I used to have a different handle on YouTube that I just got rid of because Godless is pretty self-explanatory. Because most of the atheist YouTube content creators are either godless, faithless, or or whatever. Scummer's a kind of British soccer reference. It's actually something fans of our rivals Portsmouth call Southampton fans, and I just decided to embrace it. So I just thought I'd put a bit of fun with it and embrace it. So that's kind of where the handle comes from.
Is it generally a term of derision, or?
Oh, of course, yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, apparently there's other football rivalries where they use that as a term of derision, but there's a bit of we're talking about historical myths. Here's one here. Okay, there's this long-standing historical myth in the South Coast that something happened in the 1940s of there being a dock workers strike, and according to legend, the Southampton dock workers crossed the picket lines of the Portsmouth dock workers, and allegedly, I'm trying to remember, it was the Southampton their workers' union was supposedly called the South Coast Union of Maritime Workers. Basically, it translated to scum. Now,
Okay.
there is absolutely no record of a trade union in the UK called Scum. There's no record of this dockers strike ever taking place. In fact, the only reference I could find to any dock strike was one that happened in Southampton, and it was in the 1890s, and it was Portsmouth. It was actually scab labour came in from Portsmouth, so they might want to check their own history there. But again, it's one of those like urban myths. I don't know where it exactly originated from, but there's people that believe it, absolutely believe it happened. It's really weird.
Like someone rising from the dead.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Richard Carrier made this point on like in that book, The Historicity of Jesus, and about how myths can become very ingrained as sort of fact in a very short time. And even though I had one or two issues with, with Carrier's book, he made a lot of good points. And one of the points he made about like this is, if you think of the Luddites or whatever, was supposed to be named after this guy Ned Ludd, like the sort of the sort of people Luddites who used to like protest and sabotage like factories during the Industrial Revolution. But there's no evidence of this guy Ned Ludd ever having existed. But a lot of people think this guy's a real historical figure. I suppose you could say similar things about King Arthur or Robin Hood, even. You know.
This is the first time I've heard that, Jeff.
Yeah.
I had no idea that there was controversy about that.
Well, but Luddites, yes.
That this Ludd person existed or not.
There's no evidence.
True.
Absolutely no evidence this guy ever existed.
Fascinating.
We actually have a question for Granny here.
I just typed it in answer. I said, yeah, that's why I chose the name as Godless Granny.
Yeah.
I have 5 grandchildren.
Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Hi, Sam.
Hello.
What's your opinion on Southampton Football Club and their relationship to the Luddites?
It's football. I don't give a shit.
Oh, Sammy dear.
I don't see how they can take anything religious seriously given alien abductions, given Roswell, given how much that has been mythologized in less than 100 years.
But all that is true. All that really happened. There were newspaper
They
reports
believe
and
it
everything.
did. If you're a Christian, you have to accept that it happened, or that it's possible that Jesus was mythologized. There is no two ways about this. You have to accept either there are aliens, there was an alien autopsy, there was everything to do with the Roswell story. You have to accept, because there are people that will go to their deaths believing that. You could martyr them and they would accept it. Because they are that convinced that they have been abducted, that they have seen this, and they are that convinced with what they have seen. And if you can dismiss them, then you must be able to dismiss the Jesus narrative.
When I was
except it's possible.
in junior high school, I read the Betty and Barney Hill story. If you're into alien abduction stuff, it's one of the historical ones, in the sense that it was one of the early tales and published tales about an alleged abduction. And I was a stupid kid, and I read it. I just could not know who to believe when I was reading it. This sounds too bogus, and that sounds stupid, but listen to that. And there was just, it was well written as far as duping a kid goes. Because I really ended up very confused after that book.
I would say I'm pleased by the way the alien abduction stuff went, because it managed to pull an awful lot of the unknowns away from things religion controlled.
I have a friend who is a legitimate psychologist, credentialed, everything, works at the VA. A very kind, fine human being, raised wonderful children. Him and his wife are just madly in love. And one of the client groups that he got into in his career were abductees. And he is absolutely convinced that these people do not have any pathology going, but that they legitimately believe and experienced what they say they experienced. Now, he doesn't go so far as to say that means aliens existed, because he leaves open the possibility that there is some human thing
Have you
that
seen
goes
the
on
studies
to
people?
abduct people and then put them through this, and the end result is the belief of alien abduction.
Have you seen the studies on memory and on hallucinations?
Well, I've certainly done some reading about implanted memories and just the inaccuracy of the human mind and memory, this dissociative nature of the human brain and the associative nature of the human brain, different things like that. Not specifically as it relates to aliens and things, but
well, no, it's
I know
it's
it's
been
this big sponge that
memory.
you can cut up a whole bunch of different ways.
By the way, brain bug, that's no way to talk about Math Pig.
Our brains do not. We have this idealized, and it's really, again, it gets angry in the abortion debate. It gets angry in the trans debate. There is this idealized form of human that we have, that we are these vaguely the same creatures that function well. Okay, our brains don't function well. Our brains are the least possible energy-consuming way of achieving a result that keeps us alive, that keeps us reproducing. Okay.
Yeah, the human brain is not great.
No, it's a mess. I mean, it really got hit. The more I learned about memory, the more it hit home. I mean, we have not changed as a species in 200,000 years.
I mean, the concept of a personality is not as unique or special as we'd like to think, unfortunately.
No, not at all. I mean, we are basically, unfortunately, very programmable. We program ourselves, or we're programmed by our upbringing. We pretty much work on automatic. And our memory is terrible.
And everyone assumes everyone else's brain works like them.
Yes, very much so.
So, I spent the first 17 years of my life presuming that flashbacks were a fake thing made up as a storytelling device because it's useful. Because I'm mostly aphantasic. I don't see my memories when I'm remembering memories. I simply know facts about my memories.
I don't. Yeah, it's one of those things. Actually, I talk to people that are autistic, and when they get theory of mind, tends to be later. It's one of those things that is generally shared, and where the point where they can accept that someone else is thinking something different than they are.
Yeah, and that caught me out for a while because I have autism, and it took me. I got it quicker than a lot of people with autism because I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I had to deal with a lot of bullshit from my family. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's odd when you... Sorry, go on.
I first realized how differently people think when my middle daughter was about 3 or 4. And I saw that she just learned completely differently than the way I do, and it just blew my mind because I learned something, you tell me something and I remember it, and then you start building on that concept. And she works exactly the other way around. You give her information and it's like her brain just kind of stores that information until she gets the concept. And then when she gets the concept, her brain will draw in any information that belongs to that concept and put it all together. And a really good illustration of that is I was teaching her how to write, and I only taught her how to write one letter, the letter A, figuring, okay, you learned this, and then, tomorrow we'll work on B. No, when I got up the next morning, she had written the entire alphabet on her little slate. And the only mistake she made was that the Z was backwards. And, it just blew my mind that, once she got the idea, oh, I can draw letters, her brain just took the information that it already had about what letters look like, and she could draw all of them. She didn't have to be taught each individual one the way I did.
That's interesting.
And I am more like I'm more like that in some ways, in that, like, everyone always assumed when I was young that I was really smart because they'd show me an instance of a concept and I could apply it elsewhere.
It's interesting for me to hear that, because I've never learned about different ways of learning that way. I understand there's visual learning and there's book learning and
a lot of the differences between visual and auditory learning stuff is actually to do with underdiagnosed neurodivergence. Really weirdly. And it's just kind of the way it is, and people function with it. But I think that part of the reason that everyone assumes we're all the same is that neurodivergence isn't talked about.
The problem is I don't think that whereas even people that are non-neurodivergent, I don't think they're the same. I think there's a lot more difference there.
Oh, very true. And what you class as neurodivergent is tricky, because it's like saying that there is a norm, which there isn't.
Yes, very much so. It's we don't have, again. You go back to, it's easier to describe in gender. You go back to these very core things where you might decide that this is representative of sex, that we could call this is representative of a sex that we can call gender, right? And that doesn't include virtually everything we do. But people are on a spectrum either side of those things, and we call that normal, and it makes no sense. I keep getting into fights, mostly with middle-class white women. think that they know what it is to be a woman, and their lived experience is absolutely nothing like a lower-class black woman, a fucking lower-class white woman. In the UK,
the class divide is pretty big, especially in the UK.
See, I always took that. I always took that more, Dave, as the power people give to the word normal. The view of normal being a fixed point, that it is not. It cannot have any leeway. That it is only this and nothing.
I hate
else.
normal as a word.
I kind of take it to the extent that I kind of, when someone calls me normal, I look at them and go, "What did I do?"
It's how words have evolved. What it should be, what normal should be, is.
But you see, when I use the word normal, or if I think about the word normal, it everything that I see as normal is a spectrum.
Yes.
Okay, like that's a normal car. Well, a Volkswagen Bug 1962 is a normal car, and so is a 2020 Tesla.
Cars are fantastic,
and so those are all normal, but they're really different.
Yeah,
okay.
Cars are a good way to do it, because cars are, if it's got four wheels and a steering wheel, it's a car.
Exactly.
But a Maserati is not a normal car.
Like, I find it really funny that, like, you can say it's a car, but, like, try telling that to a trucker.
Granny, I live in this town in 900, and we have a Dollar General here. You'll never believe what I saw in the parking lot of the Dollar General yesterday.
A Maserati?
A fucking brand new Maserati.
This
Oh,
is an account I haven't seen in a while. Kent Hovind CPA. Hi, mate. By the way, Sam and I, along with ex-Cult Baby, we did find your client's tax records the other day. So,
Yeah, it didn't look great. Your client might also now be a dead allosaur.
Yeah.
Might be a what?
Dead allosaurus.
Oh.
Yeah. We did a we did a special like Dungeons and Dragons one shot on Rings channel the other day, and the premises was that myself, Sam, and ex-Cult Baby went into Dinosaur Adventureland to try and retrieve Kent Hovind's tax records. So, I mean, to me, this is the idea of a perfect after. It was the idea of a perfect afternoon tea because we got to rescue Kermit the Frog, got to shoot Matt Powell and Kent Hovind full of arrows. It was just what
cathartic.
Matt Powell died by being kicked in the face by Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see that happen. I'd pay money.
Yes.
It is one of those things. You're visualizing this in real life happening and thinking, "Oh, this could be so great."
Yeah, it would.
Anyways, to get back where I was trying to drag this point, or to what point I'm trying to drag the conversation to. So what back in my car days, I'm largely self-taught with cars. I had a few people who were very skilled and good at explaining, who taught me a bunch of basics, from engine theory and mechanical, the 7 basic machines and what tools do what and why, and hardware and that kind of stuff as the basics. But after that, it was like procedures. You got to kind of figure that out on your own, and that's where books come into play and proper manuals and stuff. But they don't cover everything, not by a long shot. And so whenever I would take on a new project, something I'd never done before, I was afraid as all get out of that project. And I was frozen to even begin to try it until I had thought enough about it. And sometimes this would take weeks and weeks of thinking and actually having dreams and shit about the project until I could do it in my head from start to finish. And once the final answer, because there was always, I'm not sure, I haven't made up my mind about this or that. When all those little bits and pieces finally clicked, and I felt like I had all of them, I could do the job, and usually was correct in all my assumptions on how to do the job. That it just happened. And I don't know what kind of learning that is. It's certainly not book learning. But it's just weird to me that the brain was frozen, that I just could not do it until I had thought about it that much, that obsessively, and then everything was all fine. And after I did it once, I can do it 1,000,000 times now. But that first one was. So that's why I'm not impressed with school very much.
Yeah.
Okay, that was an interesting point then, to me anyway.
No, I'll just say Kent Hovind CPA. I don't know much about that story you're talking about. I'll look into it at some point. It's trying to have a little bit more of a light-hearted one than getting into subjects like that, to be honest, on here.
Yeah. Hey, Granny, are you planning to do the second Ultimate Debate Championship?
Yes, I have mentioned that I am willing to either be a contestant or a judge, whichever they need. So I don't know which one they will ask me to do.
Well, if you're a contestant, you may well see me in the ring.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
who's
because
doing
I know
this?
it's first come, first serve, but I did fill in relatively promptly the Google form they had for contestants.
There's a Google form. I'll have to
Yeah.
go look for that. I just put a note on their chat on Facebook.
I will stick it in private chat for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, who's doing this ultimate? Yeah, Sammy. Unfortunately, yeah. By the way, Sammy, yeah, I can unfortunately only get 6. I'm not on a paid version of StreamYards yet, so
I can bow out if you need some room.
Yeah,
no,
or I can.
I mean, he's just asking. There's no, I'm not saying anyone has to drop out. I just think Sammy's asking if I can only fit 6, and unfortunately, yeah, I'm at capacity now.
Granny, may I ask? And you can say no, that's not appropriate. I'm not going to talk about that. How's Robin doing?
Robin is doing wonderful. Robin is great. Robin only has 3 more weeks left, and Robin will be halfway done with college.
Oh, gee.
I've always felt like the 4 years of college go by so fast. It is hard to motivate Robin to do a lot of things because Robin has a lot of anxiety and is really fearful about talking to people, not just in person or on the phone, but even by email. And Robin needs to decide where he wants to get his master's. And I am encouraging Robin to leave Alabama to get his master's. And I'm more than happy to follow him and go
In what
wherever he
subject?
wants to go. What?
I think you could have just stopped at encouraging him to leave Alabama. Would have been,
Yeah,
In what subject?
psychology.
Oh, okay.
Robin wants to be a clinical psychologist.
Come on up to Minnesota or Wisconsin.
No, that is one thing I will not do. I have such a hard time moving when I'm cold that I could never live up there again. My muscles tighten around all my hardware, and it's hard for me to move.
You wouldn't like Iowa.
No.
But the schools are really good.
If Robin wants to go into kind of any sort of academia, including around clinical psychology, a tip would be from my partner who is planning to do their doctorate in psychology. Go to a different university for your master's and make connections with more tutors to form more of an academic network so that you have contacts in different labs and stuff.
First of all, in answer to Santi, Robin doesn't need encouragement to leave Alabama. Robin needs encouragement to reach out to programs to find out what program is best suited to him for a master's degree. Robin wants to be a therapist, and Robin was originally thinking he wanted to get a PhD, but now Robin is thinking maybe just go for a master's and become a therapist, and then if he wants to go on to get a PhD later, he can do that later.
That's certainly a fair way of doing it.
Every trans person I know that's in college and into psychology or the helping professions, when they talk about PhD, I want them to go for that PhD and take on a trans issue for their dissertation and stuff.
Ooh, that's a great idea. I would really like to see Robin do that too. Ooh, there's Sam.
We need so much better coverage and information, and it's like who better to do it than a trans person?
Yeah. And it's largely an unexplored field, so there's certainly plenty of niches to fill.
I have to get close to the phone and gaze at Sammy's beauty.
You need to change, Sam. You've got like everyone. We all had a debate about who has the best hair in the community, and we've all gone down a place since you've come in.
I could try to ship Sam and Robin.
I don't necessarily agree with that. When I work at my hair, it's pretty damn nice. Look at my current avatar. That's not photo. I
It's
didn't do
beautiful.
anything to my hair. That's just my hair. And next month I'm going to go back to my hairdresser finally after a year of waiting.
Nice.
Oh,
I probably
I'll
need
show
to
you.
have my hair just trimmed for split ends and shit because I've not had it cut in ages.
I need to have mine trimmed for that, to be honest. I desperately now.
I am waiting for the Rona to finish. Alternatively, for me to have had both shots of vaccine and places to be reopened, because that seems like that's more likely to happen first, unfortunately.
I've had one vaccine.
Nice.
have
My second shot is in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks.
How are you getting your second shot before us?
Did you hear the sad information
asthma?
coming out about COVID right
Yeah.
now? That the number one group that is being affected and getting sick and hospitalized are young people under 16 who haven't been immunized at all. These kids need protection badly.
I mean, I live in an area where my GP surgery is fairly small, and I have asthma, so I was fairly high up the list in the first place. So I had my first shot at the end of February, I think, possibly end of January. Sorry, I can numbers.
Hey, anybody want to talk about Matt Gaetz?
Who?
He's a
yes,
U.S. politician that recently was caught. Well, I shouldn't say caught, but there's an investigation into whether or not he was involved in sex trafficking.
Well, what do you class?
It's
I'm
going a lot
disturbed by
deeper
what
than
you
that.
class as sex trafficking. What's he alleged to have done?
He's alleged to have had a 17-year-old friend that he was having sex with, and he took her across state lines to various events.
See, I wouldn't call that sex trafficking, but I understand the way your federal state things work. That once things go, it gets very weird.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call that sex trafficking. I'd certainly call it concern.
Yes,
but I don't know if I'd call it sex trafficking.
I would call it sex trafficking, but I don't know if I would try to bring up charges on that because of it's not the same as what we typically think of as sex trafficking. But I think to define it for the public, I think it's
my problem is when I hear sex trafficking, I hear somebody's been kidnapped, shoved in the boot of a car, and then delivered to somebody against their will. That's my problem.
Is this a violation of the what's it they used to call it, the Mann Act? I don't even know if that thing's still in force or not, but
the question is how do you define getting tossed in a trunk? It's that's a I have power over you, and that's not just necessarily physical, but
yeah, I agree,
situational
totally.
and occupational and relational, and so it feeds into the same result.
Yes. Well, again, I suppose it comes down to whether or not she consents. You went, and Gary just said consent doesn't exist for minors, so it's under the same law. I don't know where consent crossing state lines for sex works with.
Consent for sexual stuff here kicks in at 16, and it varies from state to state. I know in Texas it's 17 with exceptions for if you're, I think, within 3 years of each other. So like a 14 and a 16-year-old.
The laws vary a lot here from state to state.
The only reason I'm familiar with what I said is the Mann Act is because some of I did a couple of videos about some like notable historical boxing matches, and I covered one involving the boxer Jack Johnson, who was kind of very much convicted of some pretty trumped up charges on the Mann Act. transporting a woman across state lines for quote unquote immoral purposes. Which it was in Jack Johnson's case was totally racially motivated. I mean, probably one of the few decent things Donald Trump ever did in his presidency was posthumously pardon Jack Johnson, because it was well overdue, you know. But that's the only reason I'm even familiar with that law.
Right, so that's why
apparently they're looking at a lot more with this. Matt Getz, you know how investigations can pick up things that nobody thought about or knew about, and now they have to go in that direction. Apparently there's drug use and possible dealing involved, and then there's some new accusations that I've only heard the bits and pieces of in the last couple of days.
There's been a very
of his passing around solicitous pictures on the floor of the Congress. That while these people are in debates and stuff like this little pervert is well, that's, I take that back. That's the wrong thing to say. This alleged pervert is passing around dirty pictures on the floor. It's like, this is not high school, dude. What the fuck are you doing? Who do you think you are? And that alone, I think he should be freaking booted out. That's just such inappropriate behavior for somebody in Congress. It's just not.
Is he a Democrat or a Republican?
Yeah. He's Republican.
Oh,
what a surprise!
Yeah. If he was a Democrat, he would have been forced to resign as soon as they heard he had his zipper.
Whenever I get a chance to do one of my Twitter streams again, I think I've found the next person, and that's going to be Mike Huckabee, I think. So, doesn't that guy tweet some shit out?
This is
that's right. I just remember it isn't just passing pictures around. That they have some whole club going on in the background of a bunch of congressmen who are giving each other points for who and what did they fuck this week.
The good Christian party that we're talking about here.
Likely. That it's really just a terribly perverse. I don't want to keep using perverse. A terribly juvenile escapades in sexuality. Let's call it that. It's just completely inappropriate for a bunch of adult men in a position of power.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I don't care if they want to have an affair, but to make a childish game out of it like that, it's just.
I find it really weird that it's possible for, in a conversation like this, the thought to go through my head, that's a phase most of my friends had a couple of years back. Why is it taking them so long to get it out of the system of just being a horny fuck?
Everyone is different, and everyone changes at a different point. And very often, men get it back when they're older. That's not justifying it. I think you're meant to let your rational mind.
I know it was more snark than anything. It was just a funny comment that occurred to me.
I think everything to do with sex is currently broken in our society. I think that there does not seem to be a place in our society to have a healthy relationship with sex.
I don't think there has been for a long time. Not in our lifetimes. I don't think.
No, I mean we're on the back of Puritanism and
that's. I mean, I had a really bizarre conversation the other day with someone wherein we discussed like how for their age group, they're kind of, I think 40, like polyamory is considered a BDSM thing, Whereas to people in my age group, it's considered an LGBT thing.
I think no. I mean, I'm 42 and I've been poly for as well from as long as I've known what the word meant, and from before I knew what the word meant.
Yeah.
I think the issue you have is that the circles that you tend to move in tend to be the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, you're not wrong that BDSM. Actually, the reason is BDSM has actually moved into the LGBT more so than anything else. At the point at which we started categorizing things in that sort of way,
there is a big overlap there. Yeah,
but the point is, it tends to be people that think. And once you start questioning your sexuality and start questioning your gender, you start to think about other things and try and work out, well, why does society say that this is bad? Why is society...
See, that's something I don't... Like, I understand logically, but don't get, is the not questioning stuff bit. Like, I have, from pretty much as young as I can remember, questioned my gender. And I just thought that was normal.
Why do you think they are so terrified? This is one of those really things, okay? You used to see this from an outside perspective. Why do you think they are so scared about a simple lesson in school that says gay people exist?
Because it contradicts their narrative, and they hang their hats on their narrative.
It's not that.
I think it's more because it goes against... the best way I've got of phrasing it off the top of my head is a power structure which supports them.
No. Right.
I think it is because...
Go on.
I think it is because men are afraid that gay people will treat them like they treat women.
I love that one, but no, because that comes later. Right? The problem is, right, and this is very 1984, if you can't conceive of an idea, you don't think about it. You can't think about it. Right? So you might be 60% gay, but it might never occur to you. You might get married and have a life, and it never have occurred to you. Right? And just someone, when you are young, putting it in your mind at a point at which you can turn around and say, maybe, am I attracted to that person? When you just, if you don't have a 1984 describes it better. You get rid of the words, you change the language so that you can't conceive of an idea.
Yep.
That idea goes away. Now, that doesn't change the depression. It doesn't change what you are inside. But it does affect, especially considering, I mean, sexuality is the perfect example, because there is virtually nobody that is, well, according to every study, there is no one that is straight, 100% straight. And there is only a small number of people that are 100% gay.
Yeah, I have multiple people I know who are lesbians, who are married to a man, and that's the only man they've ever been attracted to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the exception that proves the rule sort of thing.
The point is, people are attracted to people, is the point.
If somebody spends time thinking about their personal feelings and how they are or are not attracted to this or that person or this or that kind of sexuality, I think much like alcohol, they reduce their own inhibitions to exploring that further. The more you think about it, the more willing you are to explore it further, at least mentally.
That seems fair enough.
And I think that at some point, for many people, they will cross that line between a mental exercise and let's see if this is real. I know as I've been going through my second transition, that I went into it being absolutely convinced that I'm 100% lesbian, and I just have no interest in men whatsoever, and find their penises quite ugly, and have no time for men. And I don't feel that way anymore. because I left myself open to thinking about certain things, and I realized that, oh yeah, I would like to do that. Oh my gosh.
That's fair. I mean, I have been accused of turning a lot of my friends queer or trans because a lot of the people around me end up coming out as some sort of LGBT plus, because I'm so open about it. They go, "Oh, that's a thing." And so, like, I have friends who've come to me and gone, "Now, normally, I am not attracted to, like, women, for example, but your best friend," or something like that. That's happened a couple of times.
Well,
where it's just like it looks from the outside. I can see how my family might think I'm turning all my friends queer. Because
makes me wonder.
It's not that the problem is they have been forced into. They have literally been forced into this tiny little box. Again, and we go back to this is fucking religion that's done this. This is outright religion that has done this. It has made this box of male and female smaller and smaller and smaller, and sexuality smaller and smaller and smaller until it's this tiny thing that everyone must fucking fit into this little box. And the second that anyone questions it, they realize that doesn't fit me.
Yeah.
And part of what you're saying, Sam, is fueling the ultra conservatives, because they look at that and they say the young people are turning to this because they're being talked in by their friends. And no, it's that because we're talking about it, people are realizing it. Just like, I never realized I was asexual until someone told me what asexual was. And I was like, oh my gosh. I read the list and I said, yeah, that's me. But I'd never heard of it before, so I never identified that way before.
What is fascinating?
I tend to have a certain amount of agreement with Sammy that my personal experience has opened my mind to the possibility that we. I want to be real careful saying this. I don't think we talk ourselves into a sexuality that does not have some essence already in us. Okay.
Yeah.
But if it's there, I think that you can bring it out more by choosing to think about it, by choosing to explore it, even if it's only as a mental exercise. And whether or not it becomes IRL is very individualized. I mean, I know guys that have said gay things for a bad expression, who would never ever experiment. It's just, and I know others that might.
Yeah. Sometimes I look at some of my friends who are less willing to explore themselves and go, you do realize how bisexual everything you say sounds, right? Because, like, I have a friend who constantly talks about how hot women are. And yet she insists vehemently that she's straight.
Well, yeah.
I mean, then again, she also wants to grow up to be a missionary, so...
Okay.
The point is she's not going to get out of that box if she wants to.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing...
You do have to tell her that she needs to learn the missionary position to do that.
Oh, dear. See,
I'm sorry, I had to...
Another thing is that with labels, you can invent terms. Like, this isn't something I particularly speak much about because it doesn't matter. But I have previously kind of considered my romantic orientation and gone, I don't know that I've ever been romantically attracted to people, but I know I've been romantically attached to people. And there's a distinction for me between how most people describe romantic attraction and how I feel romantically towards people, in that I'm attached to them and I have these feelings towards them, but I'm not necessarily attracted to them romantically. And it functionally doesn't make a difference. But I've had to try and basically make my own words for that. And sometimes that is a thing I've had to do, and then gone looking for words other people have used and gone, I can't find this.
Yeah. Well, I always always kind of jokingly say, when somebody once asked me, he said, like jokingly, sort of said, "Hey, would you ever consider having a sex change?" And my response was, "Any sex would be a change." So
Guilty.
Yeah.
I think a lot about what well, not so much anymore, but I used to think a lot about what is it that makes us cross the line. You know, that you choose to take on that first event of experimentation. I mean, I can remember myself having that relatively minor struggle in life. One of the first times I ever masturbated, and I can remember, although not very clearly at all, I can remember the first time that I, as an adult, not as a kid or an adolescent, cross-dressed. But the one thing I can't remember is, what was it that said, "Okay, cross the line"? And I can tell you, once you cross the line, and I think this is, to me, speaks about the germane issue that has to be, the seed is already planted in your head somehow, by hook or by crook, or genetics or whatever. Fuck. That once you cross that line, it turns on, and it's never going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that point for me was when I picked up a special interest in primary school because autism, and so that doesn't go away. And then I mentioned it offhandedly to my mum, and she started going off about how that's sinful and how the people who do that are evil, and it was just hypnosis. And then I asked other Christians, and they were all like, "There's nothing wrong with that." And so then it was like, "Oh, okay, so this isn't so cut and dry. I can poke things." And then it was like, "Oh, no going back now." And now whenever I see fundamentalist Christians listing the things that they're upset by, it's starting to look like a to-do list.
Yeah.
Like it's
really
what?
A to-do list. A to-do list.
Feudalist?
No, to-do list.
To-do list. I'm sorry. You guys need to learn to enunciate.
You go to puritytest.org, you take their long list, and you work your way through it, skipping the animals and dead people.
Yeah, and the being arrested bit.
No, the getting arrested bit's fine. Just don't get arrested for anything too seriously.
See, my rule is just don't get caught.
Yeah.
Do the things that would get you arrested but don't get caught, as long as they're not too serious.
They knock on the car window and say, "I think it's time you were going." Jenny, what you were saying about that line, that's exactly what I said about them fearing just mentioning being gay as being acceptable. Because it's that line that you cross, that just that little push across that will let them think. It will let them think it's a possibility. And all of a sudden, it opens up. It opens your mind. I mean, you hear about it in literature. You hear about it over and over again about how these little things, and that's unrelated, but an idea, being exposed to an idea, and it just expands your mind so much. And I talk too much. Go on. Interrupt me, please.
I was just gonna say, that's why I think Hollywood, has a huge role in this. A lot of the Christians get upset with everything that Hollywood portrays, and yet, I was watching a TV show recently, and two Black men were being very amorous, and it made me quite uncomfortable, and I had to stop and think about it. Why is it making me uncomfortable? And I realized it's because I'm not used to it. I've never seen this before, and I think Hollywood has a huge role in normalizing this kind of thing.
Well, I
But
think.
but then does that
yeah.
give credence to the conservatives' claim that and I'm going to try and use their words, perverse media encourages kids to become gay or to become trans, or that's the cause of it.
It encourages kids to accept gay people,
Right.
which can lead them to realize they're gay, but does not cause them being gay.
I mean,
I have a question. Before we carry on, I've got a very quick question because it's really weird. What was TV like? What was TV like in the 70s for boobs in the States?
Boring.
Because we had boobs on TV. It was perfectly normal for us to. For boobs were they were not something that was censored.
Oh no boobs were ever allowed.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No.
Right, we've gone through the 80s and outrage, and you only ever see boobs now in specific, probably in the same way you do in films where it's allowed or it's rated.
Right.
But we had boobs on primetime TV.
Yeah.
No,
There was one episode of CSI. They had a big disclaimer at the beginning saying we're going to basically show naked body parts. Viewer discretion is advised. Parents, get your kids out the living room if you don't want them to see it. And eventually there was a shot of a corpse's boob. So it's not like it was, anything you really want to look at.
Well, I'm just fascinated that we lost it. That it became unreasonable in the UK due to outrage.
Yeah.
When
I have noticed that a lot in the UK, like a lot of my friends are trying to imitate stuff from the US, and that seems to be a general trend when I look at stuff like that.
When I was in junior high, they showed a film of Romeo and Juliet, and we all had to get special permission to see the film because there was a scene where they showed Romeo's bare backside.
Oh dear!
I was in third grade. I'm not sure exactly, but it was like second grade, third grade, probably third grade. We had this little assembly down in the gym where the stage was located, and it was some of the local girls who were learning Irish dancing and doing that. And at one point, they were going to do this dance, but all the boys had to turn around and not watch because apparently there was some kind of kick or something that might have risked somebody viewing up a skirt to a certain degree. Now this is like 1960, 62, 63 in middle America. And these things were taken quite seriously. And so all the boys actually had to turn around, and then they did the dance, and they said, okay, you can turn back now.
See, some of the differences between the US and the UK are bizarre. Like, one of my partners had to explain to me that cheerleaders are in fact a thing a while back, and they've still not gotten over that.
It's the one thing. That's the one thing American football does have over British football. I will say that.
Yeah, I was just like, you're shitting me. Surely that's just like a movie thing to make it more interesting.
Nope.
No, not at all.
Especially in Texas. Being a cheerleader in Texas is huge. Yeah, there's huge competition. And yeah, there's even been feuds between mothers trying to get their daughters on the cheerleading squad.
God, I wanted to be a cheerleader so bad.
I did too. I wasn't pretty enough.
So it's another good reason why I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan there, Jenny, because of the Dallas Cowgirls.
Yeah, the Packers have cheerleaders too.
Yeah, I know.
They're in triple layers of sweaters and stuff.
Yeah. was it the Chicago Bears when they got rid of their cheerleading squad or something back in the 80s that they believed they were cursed because of it or something? Or it was some one of these weird little superstitions.
Labour have come out with another statement.
Oh, what have they said?
Comments in full. Shadow cabinet member to justify Keir Starmer's visit to Jesus House. The video should be deleted and a public apology made by the leader himself. We also expect him to attend our meeting with the team this week.
Well, you should do. I mean, why that video is still up? It's unbelievable to me.
What was the video? What have I missed?
Basically, the leader of the Labour Party has just been to the equivalent of an NIFB church.
Oh. That does not surprise me, though it probably should.
But it's But the point is, they keep trying to put out statements saying that Labour does not support the conversion therapy and any of this stuff. But the point is, he has said nothing, and they have not. Yeah,
the video is still up on. I mean, the video and the tweet is still up on Twitter. You know. Okay. Oh, Katz is asking. NIFB, that's New Independent Fundamentalist Baptist Church. This is the sort of group, like sort of Matt Powell and Stephen Anderson, that sort of group. Generally, they're the groups that tried to do the Make America Straight Again conference thing, and it was the whole thing. Was it with Jimmy Snow doing the pumpkin thing at Tommy McMurtry, wasn't it? Or
that wasn't Jimmy Snow. That was Jimmy.
Right,
sorry, I was thinking of Thomas doing the dancing in the pumpkin suit.
What about that dungaree dance that you were going to do, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't been able to get in hold of any dungarees. I'm hoping to get to a charity shop when they open again.
Well, we're going to do a fundraiser by the look of it.
I just want you to know we haven't forgot about that one.
No, I haven't. I have nightmares about it.
I will say, Katz, it wasn't an actual NIFB.
No, it wasn't.
Church,
I was just trying to be quick.
It was kind of it's kind of the equivalent. It's a homophobic, really big, massively homophobic pastor. This church
Sounds like any church in my area. Well, not actually any of them, just a significant portion of them. Yeah. Oh boy, I cannot wait for COVID to be over and me to see any of my relatives, because just wait till they see the pentacle necklace. For frame of reference, for people who don't know, my whole family is kind of this way on. My grandma and granddad for years were missionaries in India.
I can't wait for COVID to be over so I can go to a bar and beg someone for sex.
I have several friends who I owe a drink, and a couple who I owe an ice cream. So I look forward to being able to fucking do that. Though I did go out and meet up for some socially distanced drinking behind a Tesco the other day, because why the fuck not?
Bit different that time. I want COVID to be over so badly.
Yeah.
We're getting there. What percentage of Brits have been at least partially vaccinated?
Well, I don't know, but we still haven't hit 70% on the groups it's been offered to.
America's up to about 1/3. And they're currently inoculating about 3 million people a day.
Are you going to hit 70%? Assuming,
I think we will.
It depends on whether or not people will be willing to do it.
So, I've just done a quick Google, and it says we've reached more than 50% of people having had the vaccine. I'm not sure if that's first or second dose.
First. We've got a very small number of second.
Fair. So more than half of, I think, adults have had the vaccine now.
That's still not enough. Herd immunity.
Yeah, no, we need a bigger portion of that.
Fresh blade.
The government thinks they can get 90%.
That's good.
That'd be brilliant if we could. That pretty much fixes it.
Mhm.
I mean, the worst thing is we are almost certainly, and they're not talking about this, but we are almost certainly going to need a second dose, as in two more hits later on, either early next year or end of this year, to deal with the variants that have come on in the meantime. But
I think they should swap up everybody with having 3 variants of vaccine. That they should give you a different one in the next round. Not, I'm talking about the 2 doses you need, but after you've done the 2 doses, 6 months from now, do a different brand of it. Like I would like to do the Johnson & Johnson. I've had the Moderna. I would like to do the Johnson & Johnson because they seem to work in a different way, and it makes sense to cover yourself from all bases.
yes,
I don't know that it works that way.
it doesn't. But well, it can. They're creating the same antibodies in different ways. Is the point? But they're creating the same antibodies. It's not. They're not creating any different antibodies as the end result. But their mechanism of doing it is different.
Yes.
So you might get
sure that if you combine any 2 of those, that you're going to be able to shoot laser beams out of your tits.
The Pfizer and the Moderna are messenger RNA vaccines.
Yeah.
The Johnson & Johnson is not. My brother described it as a Trojan horse vaccine, but I don't know exactly what the mechanism is on a Trojan horse vaccine.
I don't know.
That would imply that it gets into the COVID virus and fucks it up, whereas the others seem to imply that they get into our cellular structure and fortify us. I don't know. I have no idea if I'm right.
No, it more has to do with the mechanism of how it causes you to build the antibodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But by the way, yeah, about 15, 20 minutes or so, Granny. Yeah.
Just so people who get the vaccine realize that this does not make it impossible for you to get COVID or to pass
what it does
COVID
do,
on.
and that annoys me that people
reduces your likelihood of going critical and dying from it.
Yeah.
Then it's not a cure for the pandemic. It's a big step towards that.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's not immunity.
Yeah.
It's reduce your chance immunity.
Yeah.
Well, immunity also doesn't mean invulnerability in the first place.
No, that's very true.
No.
We all have an immune system that fights germs all the time and keeps us from getting sick all the time.
This is one of those reasons where I'd still be a little bit at risk even after vaccination, because I'm on immunosuppressants.
Yeah. See, I would like to think that once we've got the vaccine, everyone will still be sensible for a bit while we, completely get rid of it.
They won't.
Nope. No, that's me trying to be an idealist, but no, the realist side of me is like, no, that's not going to happen. Have you seen people now?
Sam, did you go to a rave last weekend?
No, I wish that was an option at this point.
There was an option. It was right there. I can't believe they closed
Santi may be mentioning me in this comment about the vaccines. This is probably a really good time for me to do my usual disclaimer. I'm not a real doctor at all. As a matter of fact, if you ask me for medical advice, you'll be scheduling a disappointment. That's a joke.
Santi's here.
I'm not a real doctor. No.
Santi's been here for ages.
I can't see the chat. I'm sorry.
Santi's been here for a while.
Hi, Santi.
So you missed his comment about his sexuality.
Oh, what did he say?
Married.
So
isn't that the same as asexual?
I'm not asking for a commitment, just a whack.
No, but that's why he said his sexuality.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. For those who don't understand, I recently got a chance to really observe Santi's face, and I find Santi to be absolutely adorable. And so
Now-
I think dirty things and develop meaningless crushes.
You have an admirer
Doc
here.
may
Sandy.
not. Doc may not be an actual Doc, but I am an actual agent of chaos.
I'd say I still think Doc's credentials are better than Kent Hovine's, but you know,
Everyone better than Kent Hovine's.
I want to find any information I can about all the members of the Family Research Council and what their actual credentials are. Are they like a Kent Hovind, that they have this doctorate or some crap from some unaccredited religious bullshit school, or are they legitimately educated and just a bunch of bigots? I would love to see that group go down.
I think you've more chance of hiring hitmen to kill them, unfortunately, than taking the group down any other way.
Yeah,
So-
I don't even like to think about that as a possibility, but
I'll just say we're not saying that's a viable option.
yeah, I don't do that kind of stuff. Liberals don't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if we did, the Supreme Court balance would be different.
I see, Jenny. You need to go socialist. See, we do that. We do that kind of shit.
They do it retroactively.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't do that sort of thing. Make it clear.
Well, it's like that. It's a bit like the old joke about the trade union leader who goes to his members and said, "I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. Bad news is you've all had to take a pay cut. Good news is the management have agreed to backdate it."
Oh, jeez. Nice guy. My brother, my older brother, I retired before him. The reasons why are not important, but I did. I had to. And he retired about 8-9 months ago. He started taking Social Security. Fucker went back to work last week.
Mm.
He couldn't take not working.
No, my dad will die the week after he retires. I guarantee it.
See, my granddad could have retired a good few years before he did, and he only retired when he found out that he was severely ill.
Okay, I just realized we can go for about 1 hour and 3/4, and we'll probably start wrapping this up in a few minutes. So I don't know if we want to start shilling if we got anything to shill. So I'll go around the room. I'll start with Doc. I don't know if you got anything you want to shill, Doc, or.
Well, I'm not a content creator. I'm just a bloke who hangs about. But I hang out with Purple Rhymes has learned a lot, so they're a very great YouTuber, I think.
Yeah,
it's always fun to hang out with Perp. So,
and Purple now I found out Purple is now going to be officially invited to the great transgender meetings.
Yep.
What I established the other day.
yes, indeedy.
Yeah, I have made sure to clear him a seat relatively near me.
Purple came out to me a couple of years ago, and I'm just so proud of him that he's made it public and that he's found the strength to allow me to misgender.
Yeah.
He's using they them. That they've come out and that they feel free and that their life is making some changes. Good for them.
Okay. Jenny, you got anything? Jenny, you got anything you'd like to plug?
I'm going to be on some goofy show tomorrow afternoon called Critical Questions or something. British.
Oh, it's a shit show. Don't go on there.
And then I'll be tagging along with Purple shows on what is that, Wednesday and Thursday. And once again, I'm supposedly told there's going to be a movie night this Friday.
Cool. I've been told there's a temporary producer all lined up, ready to go.
Okay, good. Well, then it sounds like it's going to happen. Why don't you come on and be part of the panel?
Because it's in the middle of the fucking night.
So what?
It is.
I've been to the only movie night that wasn't in the middle of the night. They did one that wasn't in the middle of the night.
Yeah, you need to get on, like, you stop being on silly time zones, you know, and sort of like
I
get
told
into
Granny to move. I mean, she should move as opposed to anyone else.
Yeah,
so that she can do her shows at reasonable times.
we want to, we definitely want to start and adopt Granny as a honorary Brit, so we can bring Granny here.
That sounds good to me.
How about if all of us move halfway and all end up in Iceland?
Oh, I thought you were going to say the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, Sam, you got anything you'd like to plug?
I keep saying it's going to come out soon, and I've actually written the fucking script now for this bloody video on pronouns. So that will be out in the next probably week. I scream into the void on Twitter, and I have an Instagram now. Fuck knows if I'll do anything with it. I have the first episode of Pub Religion coming out this week. I am still waiting for my co-host to get back to me on what day we want to premiere it. So for anyone who's not heard me say it a dozen times at this point, it's just a podcast where we're going to be chatting about, we're going to have like a general theological topic to talk about. And the premise of it was just based on a bit of a joke, actually. A pagan, a Christian, and an atheist walk into a bar. And so we're just going to kind of sit and chat. The first few episodes are going to be introducing each person. So I think the first one we did me.
You're neither an atheist nor a Christian.
A pagan.
There was a pagan in this.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Yeah, no. So my atheist co-host is Will over at Godless Sewing, and my Christian co-host is Maddie over at Science Side Up.
Yeah.
I think most of my viewers know Will Godless Sewing, but if anyone's not familiar with Maddie Science Side Up, go check her channel out. She's awesome. And she went up so much in my estimation recently when she handed Nathan Thompson's ass to him on Modern Day Debate. So anyone who sort of slaps Nathan Thompson down a peg or two is good people.
It's her ring because she's studying meteorology.
Sam, did you see Brainbug's comment? Instead of pronouns, he's interested in amateur nouns.
See, that's a pun I have written in the script, and now I don't know if I should leave it in or take it out.
Oh, leave it in.
Leave it in.
It's a great one.
Okay. Dave.
I have critical questions tomorrow night. And I am on a stream tonight on Math Pigs about the riots that have been going on in Northern Ireland for the last several days.
Ooh.
Really?
Here is reporting.
Yeah. Could be an interesting stream.
I hope to learn a lot, given that I know bugger all because no one's reporting it.
What's going on in Northern Ireland?
I don't know. All I know is there are riots. It is related to a bit to do with lockdown, a bit to do with the new crime bill, and a bit to do with the fact that the police have not arrested a load of people for going to a funeral. Like 3,000 people turned up to a funeral during the lockdown, and the police have turned around and said there were going to be no prosecutions. So I don't know, but there's been several days of this in several places across Northern Ireland, and they're not happy.
Okay. Granny, you got anything you'd like to plug?
I do. Jenny is going to be on my show tomorrow evening. And we are going to talk about the Family Research Council, and Purple will be there also. And basically, we're going to be talking about how they are trying to eliminate transgender people from the face of the earth.
I'll just say something about that particular group very quickly. I'm going to put myself full screen for it.
Accurate.
Okay, enough said.
They're doing more than that. For those who haven't heard me say this a million times already, they have actually written the laws that are circulating around to the 30-some state legislators who are trying to push them through pretty much as written. So it's a question of religious organization creating law in the United States.
They learned from the wedge
absolutely
strategy.
Unconstitutional.
Anything else?
And it's perfectly okay for the right wingers.
Was you done, Granny? Was there anything else you needed to put out there? Or
Nope, that's it. Well, actually, I guess I should mention that the following week, I've got another episode of Why Are We Here, and Shannon Q and Cirrus will be on that one.
oh,
Well, that should be good.
oh,
Nice.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous you get to speak to these people.
Try asking. Most of them say yes.
Yeah, I know. So they're usually pretty good if you ask them.
Yeah, both of those are people that I will probably try and drag on my channel at some point, but we will see.
Yeah, I definitely would reach out to them, but I just don't want to get them on for the sake of having them on, kind of thing. It's got to, it sort of needs to be
Got to be relevant.
Yeah. So that's kind of so that's kind of what that's probably why I haven't come across anything where I'm like, yeah, okay, I can have a good conversation about that with that person, sort of thing. So, okay, as for myself, then I'll just I might be doing Dave's stream tomorrow, depending on if I'm not too completely shattered. I'll be maybe there. On Sunday, I will be back on my channel this week with Noodle doing Asterix and the Picts. So we really are getting into the final few Asterix books now. And again, I keep teasing this, but I can't say too much. But Noodle and I will be hopefully launching a project together a bit later this year. So which people need to look out for. So, but I'm still kind of like, it's one of those things I want to tell everyone what I'm doing, but we kind of can't yet because there's still details to work out. After that, I'll probably be on Ring's channel. I think we're doing the film Rain Man this week because I think this obviously is a autism awareness sort of things coming up now. Yes, and I know Rain Man isn't necessarily the best representation.
Yeah, I think I'm joining you on that, actually.
Yeah, I know Ring was very keen to get someone who is either on the spectrum or is maybe a carer for someone on the spectrum. So we have that perspective.
Well, nice, easy person to get on the spectrum then.
Yeah. So, yeah, I believe it's Rain Man we're doing this Sunday, and I think I forget the film we're doing the week after that. Honestly, it's something. Noodle suggested it, but I forgot the name of it. But okay, so yeah, that's me. Before I go, say thanks to my patrons, Dog, Johnny the Apostate, Ox, and Dave, who's in here right now. I've been hearing people, apparently patrons having some issues right now as well, because apparently people are those who have patrons or whatever just might want to check this out, because apparently some people are having problems sending payments right now. So just be aware of that. Otherwise, thanks to Granny, to Dave, Sam, Jenny, Doc for popping on today. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks for helping me relieve the boredom for a couple of hours on Easter Monday and having a good conversation. So shall see you guys later, and salute.
Bye.
TTFN.